Hey everyone, how are you doing tonight? It's Saturday night, and this is, of course, Roger, Grubus Games Unlimited, the creator of Dungeon Crusade, and welcome, and from the heart, it is just so awesome to be back with you guys. I was trying to get here a few days ago, and it's just been crazy busy, but I love coming in here and hanging out with you and chatting with you and make sure your guys are doing good. I hope you're staying safe and healthy, of course. And I just want to start off with welcoming the new subscribers to the channel. Thank you very much. We're glad that you're here. We hope you're enjoying all this Dungeon Crusade craziness, or the Dungeon Crusade universe. So, you know, as always, we appreciate your time and interest with the game. So it's very nice that you're here. From the title, you saw the awesome news, and I have a lot of awesome news for you in this update. We have received the final templates from our manufacturer, Wingo Games, of course. Our excellent project manager, her name is Drick, and the designer who, of course, put all of the templates together. They've been kind of busy at the manufacturer, which understandably with all the other games they're working on, but they were diligently working on this, working hard, and they sent us the final templates for bulk production. And I'm going to drop this piece of good news on you, that I talked to Drick, our project manager, on the phone, and we're always emailing or texting or whatever. And according to her, we're probably going to start mass production next week, mid to late next week, and I welcome it with open arms, as I'm sure everyone does. Very excited, I'm very thrilled about that. Most of all, relieved, because finally Dungeon Crusade is truly going to be finished. And so I wanted to let you know that we're going to be talking about the Pledge Manager. That's going to be closing up here. We did leave that open, excuse me, while they were, getting the last template, or the last of the templates put together while we were reviewing them. This is going to be closing. We'll save that to the end. I have some very awesome stuff coming up in the Spotlight series. You're going to be hearing and seeing a lot of the game in the near future, so we're going to get back on track, and I think you're going to love what we're going to discuss at the end here. I'm going to be listing some stuff. Real quick though, I want to share a video with you that Drick, our project manager, sent to me, because I was like, I think you know how much I love this game and just very passionate about it. I was asking her, probably ask her too many questions, to be honest, and she's okay with that, I think. But I was saying, well, what about in bulk production? Can you check the color correction? What about the brightness? Make sure that all the colors, everything's looking good. So I think she did this to ease my mind, to be honest with you. But I thought you would like to take a look at this. And what this is, let's get the video up here. Hopefully this should work. So she sent me this, and as I said, I think it was to ease my mind, because, I'm just, I care about the game, and, I care about everyone getting the game. This is their big machine. And when you see this thing is a monster of a printing machine. But this is how, I guess one of the phases, how the game is printed. So let's take a look at this. And I like seeing behind the scenes kind of stuff, so I thought you guys would like to see this too. And again, this might be a long update video, and I hope you don't mind, but from the heart, I love hanging out with you guys and showing you everything I can. And so let's take a look at this here. Again, this is not Dungeon. Wait, I'm going to pause it. This is not Dungeon Crusade. I want to say that. I don't want to, of course, mislead you in thinking, oh, this is Dungeon Crusade being printed. This is not Dungeon Crusade being printed. This is, I'm not sure what game this is, to be honest with you. Maybe we'll get a glimpse of it. I never even looked. But we'll see at the end. But anyway, this is this beast of a machine that the templates that we've been seeing. This is where they all go. And this machine just keeps going and going and going and going and going. It just fascinates me, like the intelligent minds and the brilliant people to make this kind of stuff. And here it is at the end. And I want to say too, if you guys are any creators out there, designers, you want to talk to Wingo Games about your games. They're just truly one of the nicest group of people you're ever going to meet, and they truly care about your project. And so if you're thinking about doing a game, let me know, or tell them Roger sent you, and talk to Wingo Games. And I guess this is maybe like their quality control, where they look over everything to make sure it's good. And I'm not sure what game that is or what it is, but I thought you guys would like to see that. So there you go, kind of like a behind the scenes of how games are made, and it just goes back to the top. So I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, so now we are going to be looking at some of these final templates that she sent me a few days ago, and I apologize, guys, that I wanted to get here that day, but it's just been busy. And I can tell you, it's a quick funny story that I was up till 7 a.m. in the morning the day that we got these templates, because I was excited to get them. And so Drick asked me, the project manager, we were talking on the phone, and they're 12 hours ahead of us, and she said, Roger, can I ask you something? I said, you can pretty much ask me anything. She's like, do you ever sleep? And I said, I go in about 3 or 4 hours sleep. And it's, she's like, you need to sleep. I said, I will. When the game's done, I'll sleep. But, when there's a job to be done or there's a task to be done, I just kind of keep going. So anyway, hope you don't mind hearing that little story. I'd like to share stuff with you about, just doing this whole game. We're going to be looking at a lot of stuff, and then we're going to talk about at the end kind of what's going to tie into what we're going to see. And I feel very compelled to just share these unique aspects of the game with you. So let's look at the first template here. This template here is of the village. Let's pull back a little bit. Of the village board and the dungeon UI board. And we're looking at file. I haven't learned the Mandarin. So the file 1225 AB. I can't read Mandarin. And just like the specs for the millimeters of it, and here's something if you want to know that when you do a board game, like here where it says 4C+1, what that means is 4C is the front side is all color, and then when the 1 means the reverse side is going to be black. So on some of the things you might see 4C plus 4C, that means there's color on the front and back. So of course for the village board, it's just going to be black on the back of it. And so this is how this is looking, and really amazing. Everything's just looks so colorful and sharp. And I could tell you a quick note about this, that I created a prototype of Dungeon Crusade. I put together, kind of what I wanted it to look like. And the one artist, Damien Mamolity, painted this. I gave him my prototype work, and Damien painted this. And he's just, all of the artists are just incredible. But Damien, how I kind of found out about him is from The Witcher 3. If you've ever heard of The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, it was 2015's RPG of the Year. He was an artist on that game, and this me, I just emailed him and told him about Dungeon Crusade, and and lo and behold, we became friends, and he painted it, and he painted a lot of stuff in this game. But I thought I'd just like to tell you that Damien did paint this, and it's just extraordinary. It looks incredible. And if you don't mind, I'm going to show you something else. When it was done, most of you know I love dogs. I have 3 crazy dogs, and I asked Damien, can you put some dogs in this? And he was so kind enough to, he painted this little boy like with his dog, and then a dog in a fountain drinking water. I thought that was very cool. Just super nice guy, incredibly talented, just like all these other artists. They were a real pleasure and honor to work with. Albus cards are right over here. Albus is, of course, the party's fetch hound. Albus can also level up to level 3, just like all the heroes. We're going to be looking at all the hero cards, if I did not say that yet. So this might be a long update video, so I hope you don't mind. But I was very excited to get here and share this with you guys. So that's Albus's hero cards. And here's the Dungeon UI board. And you guys probably know what some of the stuff is just from the Spotlight video series. Well, here's the printing of it. And remember, we learned in the last update video, the blue dotted line. Of course, none of these blue lines are going to be here. Those are the cut lines. That's where this is going to fold at. So they already have it where you're going to fold the board at. So there's the Dungeon UI board. Now, this is something she had left the office before I could catch it. This is the battle board. And they have 3 battle boards on here. There's only going to be 1 battle board because you only need 1 battle board. And this is in regards to the Crusader of the Realm edition, where you have to traverse across the land of Avalon. That is something we're going to be talking about in the Spotlight series coming up. So these 2 are going to be removed. I have to apologize to you. I was cut off by my recorder, so I'm sorry about that. What I was saying was that there's, this is the front side. These are the battle boards you use for the battles in the Avalon Adventure board game. They had put 2 extra ones, and that's not going to be there. So that's one correction we just had to make. Very simple one. And then that's the reverse side. So there's like an outdoor battle scene, and then, of course, like a dungeon one for whatever the heroes are facing in Avalon. So you could choose whatever side, just to be more thematic. So that is, I think that's all that's on there. Yeah. Okay, so that is the one template for the village board, the Dungeon UI board, and Albus's hero cards. Okay, this next template we're going to be looking at is all the loot in Dungeon Crusade. Now, I actually had to think before I talked about this, because you know me, I'll go off and start jibby-jabbering till tomorrow about this. And there's a Spotlight video segment coming up where I'm going to talk about the loot. So I'm going to be brisk with this, but I want to let you know about the loot in Dungeon Crusade. If you watch the Origins Spotlight video, you know that how much I love these games. And I love loot. I love mountains and mountains of tons of different kinds of loot in fantasy adventure, dungeon crawl games, and I'm a Diablo junkie. So in the creation of Dungeon Crusade, creation of Avalon, let's take a look at the map of Avalon. Side note real quick, I passed off my prototype map of Avalon, the one I put together, to, again, Damien Maimolity. So the art you're seeing here, he based it off of, what I gave him, and he did a tremendous job of bringing Avalon, to life and making it look very retro. Of course, that was our goal. So, again, tip of the hat to Damien Maimolity, just absolutely incredible. But in regards to loot, I created 193 pieces of loot, and that's spread over 9 different rarities. I was not going to settle with 60 pieces of unique loot with only 3 or 4 rarities. That wasn't, again, Dungeon Crusade was out to do something and give people a very unique, a very huge experience, something very creative and thematic. So when you have something like Avalon with 50 different locations, I felt that I wanted the player to always discover something new, whether if they're going, wait, I get my pen, whether they're journeying down into the Temple of Evil, they would find loot there. Or of course the ancient runes here, wherever. So in the creation of 193 pieces of loot, I guess my ultimate point is you're always going to find something somewhere, whether it's in the Avalon Adventure board game or in the dungeons of Avalon. So we're going to these are some old posters I pulled up. There's kind of, this is a few years old, but 193 pieces of loot. Again, a very old poster. We had put all of the cards out on the table here. And sorry, it's probably grainy, but trust me, we're going to be looking at the templates. But I just wanted to give you a little history of, loot, but we're going to be talking much more about this in the Spotlight segment. So that's like kind of, this is all the loot, but going across the table. So there's that section of loot, and that section of loot, and that section of loot. There's a lot of loot. We're going to break down the rarities, but let's take a look at these templates, because I'm sure you want to take a look at this. This is only one of them. Let's pull back here. But again, these templates are just massive. And that's the backing of it. And so let's zoom in here so you can get a kind of a good look. I don't want to spoil anything. So here is some of, go a little more, how about that? So there you go. That is one of the templates here. And just again, Drick, if you're listening to this, our project manager, the designer, an amazing job putting all this together. Hopefully you guys are seeing, like this is an immense project to pull off, and I'm just so glad that we're at the end of it. I want to point out two amazing artists and friends, and just a pleasure and honor to work with. I gave all this prototype loot. I named it, and I wrote flavor text, 193 pieces of flavor text for all the loot. I passed it off to Kesrick Lassen and Sean Ellis. And Sean and Kez took this, the names of what I had named, everything, and I told them, of course, I want your creativity and imagination in this too. So, while, we kept all the names I created, but they created what they wanted, what they envisioned the game, which I thought was just awesome. So Kesrick and Sean, I love you guys if you're watching this. Just amazing people, and their art and creativity is just incredible. Like, let's zoom on this a little bit. Take a look at this right here. This cloak of lost souls. I know Kesrick did that one, and I think she did the cloak of the Shadow Lord here. Sean, Dark Moon Battle Axe. Sean did this dagger of dark rituals here. Just amazing, feat to pull all this loot out, or to create it. And they just did everything. Just looks awesome. And don't worry, there's a whole nother sheet of this loot. Oops, that's just the backings. So, and we're gonna go over the rarities. We'll close this out again. I'm gonna try to talk lightly, because I'm going to be doing a whole spotlight on all the loot, and I think you'll enjoy seeing that. So that's one sheet. If we just scroll down, that's just the backings for all the loot. Just an amazing job by the designer. It's putting all this together. Okay, I loaded up another template here. Here's some more loot for you to take a look at. Let me zoom in a little more. There you go. And I can tell you there's swords, bows, crossbows, wands, staffs, daggers, scepters, maces, hammers, axes, rings, charms, armor, boots, gauntlets, charms. There's just everything you could imagine inside of this. I want to point this one out. Look at this. And there's things in this game I created called Underworld artifacts. They're the most wicked things in the game. Take a look at this over here, this Mace of the Blood Gods. And that's Kesrick's work there. That's just a very wicked, very wicked weapon she created. That's just awesome. And then Sean, I know he did Nightbane Dagger. I got to kind of know both of their art styles. And it's just amazing what they achieved. Over here, this right here, this is Mallory's Golden Bow. This is a piece of fabled gear. And just touching on this real quick, that I wrote a story for Dungeon Crusade. So anytime you see this gold lettering here, and there's like gold accents, like here, like Luke's training sword and Mallory's golden bow. Mallory was Emperor Sylvian's 8-year-old daughter, and on her 13th birthday, she got this as a gift. And Luke was her best friend. So Lithgar, Hano Lithgar, there's a dagger he had. Jova's Staff of Undead, that's Father Jova. kind of like a priest figure in the game. So that's kind of a little bit about fabled gear, but we're going to get into that when we do the section on the loot for the Spotlight series. And there's some more of it for you. And I'm dying to tell you more about this, but you know me, I'll keep talking about it. But, you know, like I said, doing Dungeon Crusade, I wanted to give people something always new to discover every time they play. So with 193 pieces of loot and the expansion we're going to be doing, I will assure you we will definitely hit over 300 pieces of loot with the expansion. New types of loot that I've created. There was one piece I tried to sneak into the game, or it's kind of like a set, but it will be in the expansion, and it's something very awesome that you could use. Whoops. And so there's that. And I think we have one little sheet left to take a look at. Okay, and then this was, the designer had put this on some of the monster cards that were on this template. I think we might have like glanced at this on the last update, but as you see, I've figured out how we could turn this way so you can see everything proper. But again, what we just looked at, 193 pieces of loot in Dungeon Crusade. And if I didn't say it before, I love loot in dungeon crawl games, fantasy dungeon crawl games, and adventure games. So that is some of the loot. And there's some monsters. There's a goblin. This template has the goblin footman and cultist of Zal. Hey, real quick. Cultist of Zal. If we shoot back over here, it's this evil cult. This one of the factions, kind of a lesser faction I created in the game. And look at this. There's the Dungeon of Zul. Sorry, Cultist of Zul. Dungeon of Zul. And in the Avalon Adventure board game, that's touched on about this kind of evil faction. So that's I just wanted to point that out. Another little thing that kind of ties in from the Avalon Adventure board game to this, smaller faction in the game. So Cultist of Zul. I always say Zal. Cultist of Zul. So there you go. That's 193 pieces of loot. We are going to look at all the hero cards next. I hope you're enjoying this. I know this is kind of longer, but hopefully you're enjoying seeing some of this behind the scenes stuff and what you can look forward to. So let me get the hero cards, or the first batch rather, loaded up for us. And actually, before we look at these hero cards, I just wanted to point this out again, just to touch on this, because we're going to talk about it more in the loot spotlight video. But I said, of course, there's 193 pieces of loot, and there's 9 different rarities. And again, I didn't want to just have 3 or 4. I wanted to, a very broad selection and different types of loot in the game. So you can expect, and I want to tell you, but I want to save it. There's going to be 20 junk loot cards, and all these are unique. Okay, so you're not going to see doubles or duplicates. There's 20 pieces of junk loot, and I'll touch on that in a second, briefly. There's going to be 12 pieces of starting gear. When the heroes start the game, and notice there's some kind of colors. It's brown and gray, and then there's 29 pieces of common gear, white. 29 pieces of uncommon gear, green. 29 pieces of rare gear, blue. Epic gear, there's 29 pieces. Purple. Legendary gear, there's 29 pieces. Underworld artifacts, there's 6. And then I told you a little bit about fabled gear. There's 10 pieces of fabled gear, belong to the characters in Dungeon Crusade, the story. Junk loot is something, believe it or not, I was very passionate about. And it's a kind of a cool part of the game. And the reason, junk loot is mixed in, when you play the game, because you're not guaranteed to get shiny loot by killing that level 4 guardian or that level 4 champion elite. Say you get the loot and gold roll. If you remember what that is, you roll the d20. Hey, This monster was carrying a piece of loot. You draw from the loot deck and you pulled a piece of junk loot. In Dungeon Crusade and Avalon, monsters, you're not guaranteed to get shiny loot every time, and I love that fact about the game. Of course, you can house rule it and play it, take it out, but that's the way the way I intended it, that there's junk in the game. And real quick before we get on to the hero templates, Underworld artifacts, it's the most powerful gear in the game, and we're going to be talking again very in depth about this in the loot spotlight video. Underworld artifacts are the black level. They're incredibly powerful, but they're very evil. And these 6 different weapons, there's like a sword, a dagger, a bow, like bow of demonic souls, and I showed you mace of the blood gods and sacrificial dagger. These weapons were used in a very violent way and very heinous. And so you're going to learn that it's kind of be a decision for your heroes to wield some of this stuff. And you have to use life force to power it. Once you power it, you can wield it, but there's a chance your hero's soul could be consumed. And I wanted to put that decision in the player's mind. Do you want to use something like that? Or, not? And, of course, if you're playing with others, like, don't use that Underworld artifact, but you could, sometimes one-shot, a monster with it. So anyway, we'll get into more of that. But there's 6 pieces of unique or Underworld artifacts. So we will be discussing this in the loot video. Okay, and so what I did is this. Famous last words. You guys know me very well. When I start talking about dungeons and fantasy and adventure and Dungeon Crusade and Underworld artifacts, I'm not going to leave you hanging. I'm going to give you a little sneak peek of them. And what the hey, right? I mean, I like talking to you guys. So we learned about that. So real quick, these are some old posters that when we were promoting this, so I pulled these things up. Underworld artifacts, and you notice that there's these words and for each of the weapons. Someone's going to ask about 13 plus. When you wield an Underworld artifact, we'll take a look at Hellforged Blade. And notice this is under physical warfare. It has the word hate. When you wield an Underworld artifact, you have to make a fate roll. After you power this weapon with 1 life force, remember, life force is like XP. It's something good. You did a good deed, you did a quest, you got life force. So you're feeding this source of something good into something incredibly evil. And the thing is, you have to roll the d20 before you attack. So it's kind of like the life force powers up this Underworld artifact to attack. And you have to do that each time. And it's a very unique mechanic, and it just makes players think, and that's kind of what I wanted to do with this. But you have to roll a d20, and if you roll you can minus your hero's level from the result, but if you roll anything over a 13 or like a 15 or 16, your hero's soul's consumed, and they have to be resurrected. I'm going to leave it at that for now. We'll talk more about it in that, but here's a preview of some of the Underworld artifact that's for physical warfare. Of course, swords. There's the Hellforged Blade. Sean Ellis did this incredibly evil-looking sword. And then we have Bow of Demonic Souls. This is in ranged warfare. Agony. And then we have Solus, the staff. Grand Staff of the Undead. Arcane. And each of these weapons can do 6 damage. So it can do a lot, but then remember, there's a risk to using it. And then for this is mythical warfare, daggers, of course, lust. And Sean did this. Look at that. He put this eye in there. Very cool weapon. Wicked weapon. We looked at this earlier. This is Kesric, Mace of the Blood God, Slay. And that other one was Lust. Slay. And Kesric. I wouldn't want to get hit with that thing, I'll be honest with you. And this is a spiritual warfare weapon. And finally, Axe of the Black Angel, Malice. And you know what, I'll tell you before we end with this, that there was actually flavor text, like a sentence like on the other stuff I wrote. And in years ago, I toned it down because I thought it was maybe a little too heavy for what was going to be put on the card. So I just left it up to the player's imagination when you see the word, and I'm good with that. So that's it. Underworld artifacts. There's all of them. And look at you know me too well, don't you? Because once I start talking all this stuff, I love talking to you about it and here spill the beans and everything. Okay, so now let's take a look at the hero cards. Okay, and we are at the hero cards. But I hope you like learning a little bit about Underworld artifacts. And again, it was just to give players something more in the game, and just more choices and just something new to discover, when you're playing. But we are here with hero cards. This is, of course, the template for them. We'll zoom in a little bit. Now these, we're going to also look at the expansion heroes. Again, this is another spotlight video that we're going to be doing in the very near future. So besides the loot one, which we discussed a lot about actually in this video, we're going to be doing this hero, the loot cards. We'll do a spotlight video for that, and here with the hero cards. And what I'd like to do is, let's zoom in a little more. I want to break down the hero cards for you and explain kind of the attributes and just a lot of other things. There's something here called the class rating, and this ties in with the AI system that I developed for the monsters with the target priority box. And kind of in a nutshell, when I program the monsters in the game, if I can say program the monsters or their AI, certain monsters are going to go after certain heroes they can do the most damage to, mostly like minions and guardians. And it's a really simple system, but it's very effective. And they're going to go after the hero they can do the most damage to. And I'm not going to lose track on this because, believe me, I could talk for about 20 minutes about hero cards and do all this. But this is what they're looking like. They look awesome. Up here, I'll just tell you this real quick. This is, of course, your health. Down here is your essence. Essence is used to cast special abilities. In the base game, Knight of the Realm Edition, Crusader of the Realm Edition, and the Master of the Realm Edition, you get these 6 heroes. You'll get Enwyn, Shadowleaf, that's the archer, and then Maheliak is the barbarian. Faith, Eliza, is the cleric, and there's Zeke Utar is the wizard, and then Palum Ganamar is the rogue, and then Sir Brennis Cadron is the knight hero. And if you notice here on the level 1 cards, it tells you their starting weapon. And remember, we were talking about loot, the gray level. You just simply take, that. So like you give Palum the dull stiletto. That's what she starts with. Oak staff for Zeke. Faith will get the crude mace, so on and so forth. So we'll zoom back here. Heroes in Dungeon Crusade can level to, did I say that right? Heroes in Dungeon Crusade can level to level 3. And I really wanted to tell you, I don't want to get derailed, but I don't know, maybe for the expansion, it's something I wanted to do for this, but we had to keep the game going. But I wanted users to be able to level up their own heroes. I wanted the player to have some control over that. And actually, I had a point system where when your hero levels up, they're awarded a certain pool of points, and then certain things would cost something. So that's something that maybe down the road we'd like to look at. But right now, it's just when they level up, they get better in certain attributes, warfare values, their health goes up, their essence goes up. But we're going to have to flip that up the other side. But these are, of course, the starting heroes, and we're going to get into it more in the hero video spotlight, the spotlight video for the heroes. But there's no superhero in Dungeon Crusade, but we'll save that. We'll talk about that then. So I have to flip these cards around because I want to show you something. So hold on a second. Okay, guys, I had to flip this template over the way that the designer had did it. So this is, excuse me, this is like the bottom half. We were just looking at the front, And this is what I wanted to chat with you about, and hopefully I don't derail too much. But the level 1 hero cards have the hero's backstory on them. And something that I was very passionate about when Dungeon Crusade, of course, was on Kickstarter, was having backers help shape the lore and, you know, the lore of Avalon, and be a part of this, and not put a stupid price tag on it. You know, they're already pledging for the game, and that's more than enough. So I wanted to do these Create a Hero packages, and 12 backers. You know, there were 12 Create a Heroes. You know, like for the rogue hero and the barbarian and the knight, the cleric, the priestess, paladin, so on and so forth. And there was no price tag on it, and I wanted them to be a part of this. I wanted to work with them. We wanted to work with them and have their creativity and imagination in Dungeon Crusade to help shape it. And to me, and I think some people didn't understand this, and hopefully now, from, you know, because it's done, Kickstarter to me is a cooperation between, you know, a creator or developers and people, because they're helping you to do something. Without them, you know, you don't got anything. And so to me, this was my way to say thank you to them, and do something for them that was really awesome. And again, not say, hey, give me $300 for this. It's not about that. You pledge for the game. We're cool. Let's create something together. And so these were, oh, and real quick, the expansion, there is 6 confirmed heroes. There will be a Create a Hero, just like this, totally free. But there's going to be some unique classes in the expansion. There's, you know, something that I want to do is kind of branch out and do something a little more innovative and creative, you know, moving away from the normal, you know, archetypes, like, you know, a knight or a paladin. So we're going to have 6 unique classes. Create a Hero will be back. So getting back on this, on the back of the level 1 hero cards, you know, we worked with these 12 backers. They wrote some awesome, like, nice little backstories, just enough, you know, not too short where it's not interesting, but not too long where it gets bored. And I really tried to keep that in mind in Dungeon Crusade. You know, you want to have that sweet spot where it's just enough, you know, to you know, entice people, but don't make it too long and boring with a lot of reading. So when you flip over the level 1 hero cards, you're going to get to read what these people wrote. And then also, I wanted to have their names there, you know, to show, just, you know, to thank them for what they did. So that's something I wanted to touch on. We're going to talk about it more in the hero spotlight video that will be coming up. And then, of course, here's the level 3 hero cards. So if you can picture it, you're going to have your level 1 hero card, and then their backstories will be on the reverse side. When you see the level 2 hero cards, the level 3 heroes will be on the back of the reverse side of level 2. And that's so, I'm gonna shut up, because you know me, I'll keep talking about hero cards and all that. So I'll tell you what, we're gonna look at one more template. We're gonna look at the expansion heroes. So give me a second, I'm gonna load those up for us. Okay guys, and I think this will be our final template, because there was another one that had some like the playing cards for Skulljack and the cards for heroes versus monsters, and maybe I'll throw those in another, like in the spotlight video, one of those coming up, because I know this video is probably really long. But again, I hope that you enjoyed hanging out with me and learning more about the game, and, you know, just seeing how everything's coming together. And you know me, I always feel compelled to be here with you and show you what's going on. You're going to notice something, maybe if you're an Eagle Eye Crusader, this has already been corrected. Let's zoom in more. That now these are the expansion heroes, okay? So if you got the expansion, you'll be getting these groups of heroes. And I meant to say, I'm sorry, for the 6 heroes that come with all 3 editions of the game. There's the Knight hero, Archer, Wizard, Rogue, Cleric, and Barbarian, and of course Albus, the hero's fetch hound. And so I get, actually, a lot of people ask me that. So Those are the 6 heroes you get with that. With the expansion heroes, we can see here you're going to get Matari. She's the Bard hero. And then Lyrena Nightweave is our Battle Mage. Maybe even further. There, that's great. So Carrick Rowan is the Paladin hero. And then Korath Doomswood is the Warlock. Kane Redfeather is the Ranger. And then Jorah Oakheart is the Priestess. And I'll tell you what, you want to take her out with you to throw those heels down, because she has got a ton of essence and she has some really good special abilities. So, but one thing I was going to say that, and they already caught this because I caught it and let them know, that Jorah, the level 1 Jorah card should be here. So they already flipped it around for the printing. Do you see how in tune with this game I am? I am like really in tune with this game. But that's already been corrected, so just pretend that's a level 1, because you know on the reverse side is going to be Jorah's backstory. But so those are the 6 heroes for the expansion. And remember, if you did get the expansion heroes, you can play Mega Dungeon Crusade, where you can play up, you know, with either 8, 10, or 12 heroes. And you know, we're going to be creating scenarios and quests that will accommodate that many heroes. And then you know that there's going to be gamers and players out there who might already be working on quests to you know, like for like a raid kind of scenario with all these different heroes. It's a long game for sure, but I think it'll be a lot of fun. So these are just a look at those hero cards, and everything's looking great. I really, Sean Ellis too. I'm sorry, I always try to point out artists. This was probably the 11th or 12th version of the hero card. You know, I gave him my prototype ones early on, and me and Sean would change this, change that. He worked a lot of magic, and you know, we came up with this. But these hero cards are probably like, we went through probably 10 or 11 or 12. It was a lot. Maybe I'll show those sometime. I think you guys would like to see that, some, you know, behind the scenes of what, you know, the early stuff looked like. And I'd like to share that with you. Okay, so lastly, I'm going to have to flip it over. I'm going to, you know, flip the template over so we can see their backstory. So give me a second here. Okay, and I flipped the cards over, and just like we saw with the other hero cards, here are the backstories for the expansion heroes. And again, it's just, I'm very excited for you guys to read these and let you see what all of these amazing backers wrote, and just, you know, helped shape the land of Avalon, and just, you know, the lore of everything. And just, you know, it was a lot of work, but it was really well worth it looking back on it. And again, for the expansion, you know, maybe you guys will be lucky enough to grab one of the Creative Heroes. So right now there is 6 of them. And real quick, just like, you know, I did a lot of the graphic design, but I put these things together. So I thought it was cool that down here you can see like the origins of that hero, like what village they came from in Avalon. But of course that was up to the backer. You know, we gave them the map of Avalon, and you know, to help them, you know, in the creative process. So, you know, like Carrick Rowan comes from Chapel Hill. Lyrena Nightweave hails from Towel. That's actually where Albus is from. Fetch him. Matari comes from Thunder Coast. Jorah Oakheart, the priestess, comes from Witherbrook. So I thought that was a nice touch, just to throw a little picture on there of, you know, where they come from, or, you know, where they hail from. And of course, here's their special abilities, their 3 unique special abilities. And then lastly, here is the level 3 hero cards. But remember, Jorah here, we did that swap, so pretend that says level 3. Everything is looking awesome. And again, thank you to our project manager and the designer for all their hard work. Okay, so let's chat about this and wrap all of this up. We'll head back to this. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this quite extensive look at the templates and just a little more talk about Dungeon Crusade. Hopefully you learned something you didn't know. I mean, the loot. Now you know there's 193 pieces of loot if you didn't know before. And again, I'm just very excited that we're finally getting the mass production. But what we have to discuss is, and I have that. Oh, and I'm glad I showed you a little bit more of Avalon. If you want, we'll take just another scroll through here. Hopefully you can see all that. I'll pull it back a little bit. And a little more of Avalon for you. Oh, and I can tell you this too. I have not said where, but the 4 dungeons in Dungeon Crusade right now are. I have my little pen here. Is the Ancient Runes. Is of course a dungeon board. All dungeons in the game are based off somewhere in Avalon. The Cavern of Lost Souls. That's a dungeon board in the game. And the Tomb of Kaladar. And then of course Castle Blackwood. So those are the 4 dungeons in the game. And as of right now in the expansion, there's going to be 2 new dungeons. But what I'm going to do is, and I've said this, I'm going to design them a little bit differently. I kind of blueprint them, I do the layout, and then give them to these amazing artists for them to work their magic on. So you can expect at least 2 new dungeons. Some place, I already know the 2 places in Avalon. And I think you're really going to enjoy them, especially the way that they're going to be designed, just to change it up a little bit. I always like to try to innovate for people, give them something new to enjoy. So 2 new dungeons for a total of 6 dungeons. Okay, so closing out, excuse me, coming up in the Spotlight series. Like I said, we're going to be breaking down and discussing the hero cards more in depth, talking about their attributes, warfare values, and how there's really not a superhero in Dungeon Crusade, but through leveling heroes up by giving them gear, power gems, you can create a very awesome hero. The other thing we're going to be discussing, like I said, discussing all the loot in Avalon. And I'm thinking of tying these 2 together. Doing the hero cards and loot, because they kind of go together. So I don't know how I'm going to do that, but you can expect that. And then finally, something I've been wanting to do for a while, even though there's a demo for this game that if you have not seen it, I hope you check it out. I want to discuss the Avalon Adventure board game a little bit with you in one of the Spotlight videos and kind of tell you, I think you know how passionate I was, but I want to go a little deeper for you and show you really what this game holds for you and just the amount of thematic storytelling and just what this game is. So you can expect these. We're going to kind of get back on the Spotlight thing with the narration and all that. So that's what's in the future for us. Okay, guys, I hope everyone has a great weekend, and you can expect to hear from me a lot now. Next week, as as I said, our project manager said, mass production will be beginning. We're reviewing everything. Everything's looking great, and I hope you like this very lengthy video. Okay, guys, again, seriously, love you guys. Thank you for all your time and interest, and we're finally at the end, and I am really happy. All right, everyone, stay safe, stay healthy, enjoy any games you may be playing right now, and I'm going to be talking to you very soon. Bye-bye.